real straightforward. Just please be aware we are recording because we want, and we'll be putting this up on the ISACA San Diego chapter's website, along with a copy of the slide deck. So anybody that wants to get a copy of the slide deck afterwards or can't make it here will have full access to the fun and frolic we're about to dive into. I am joined by Jordon Darling and Andy Covert. When we start going through the slide deck, we will keep it. There are a couple slides introducing Jordon and I, but we promise to keep those short and brief, so you're not too bored with any of that. But Andy, if you would like to take a quick moment to make introductions and let everybody know who you be, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, I'm an account executive for SecurityStudio Academy, and I work with Dave on the CVCISO program that trains individuals to run risk assessments for businesses of all sizes. Jordan's been through the program, Dave's in the program with me, and we're kind of revamping it right now. And yeah, if you know of anybody who would be interested in the program or would be a good fit, certainly look at my information. I'll throw it in the chat here in a few moments.
Perfect. Yeah, and Andy's going to be kind of moderating the chat, so I want to say be gentle with him, but no need to be. So really what Jordon and I were super excited to kind of dive into this topic when we first started talking about what would be good. And it was originally Jordon's idea. He gets full credit for it. We did have the opportunity to work on it together in putting the slide deck, in assembling the slide deck. But this one's not technical. This was really looking at, we were talking about, I think it started with one of the podcasts we were working on for the CVCISO program of talking about generalists versus specialists. And then there was probably another podcast about imposter syndrome. And we said, hey, what if we kind of like a Reese's, what if we put the peanut butter and the chocolate together and see what happens? So that's what we got
exactly
here.
how it went.
And what's that? Sorry.
So yeah, that's exactly how it went.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So if you like, man, if you want, go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah. Hopefully, the idea that it's not overly technical doesn't cause people to fade away, but because I think it's relevant to all of us. I think because we're talking about imposter syndrome and how it intersects with generalists and specialists and in cybersecurity in particular. So I think that's the company that we are in right now, or maybe there's some other people not in cybersecurity that check out these webinars. I don't know. But really, before we get started, I wanted to kind of begin by saying that I appreciate everyone that decided to register and listen to this talk. It's kind of humbling that you'd want to actually listen to me for 45 minutes talk about something. And I also appreciate Dave's willingness to join me. Like he said, the topic kind of came up because I was dealing with it when I was actually asked to do something for Coffee Talks, and I thought I thought, what could I possibly talk about that would bring value to the community, and there, especially when there are clearly others that are way more qualified than me on any given topic, and I almost didn't do it, and but then I decided, that maybe talking about the very thing that was preventing me from taking a step like this might be also preventing others from taking steps in their career or in their life. So I thought, okay, well, let's talk about imposter syndrome, and maybe dealing with the stresses that come with that sometimes too, because I go through that as well. And so, but my goal here today, or our goal, I should say, is that you leave here with something valuable to you, You know, you get your CPE for coming, but I want you to leave here with something um, that actually you can apply to your life, that actually makes your career, your life, and just something better. I want you to relate to the stories that we share and see yourself in the scenarios that we share, and maybe take away a tool or two that might help you tackle this thing they call imposter syndrome if it creeps up in your life as well. If you haven't noticed it in your life, maybe you will, or maybe it will come someday, or maybe it will never come. And I apologize in advance if I come across as not as professional or polished as some that you might prefer on these talks, because I promise I am a professional, but I've learned that I prefer to talk to people like friends and family. So deal with it. So let's move on.
Right on.
All right.
Yeah.
With that disclaimer. But yeah,
Hey, since we're going through the disclaimers, I should throw out there that we do have 2 poll questions, and they may or may not have been set up correctly. So we're going to try it, and if they don't, we'll just ask that you we'll share what the question is, and ask that you just drop the answer in the chat.
sounds good. Sounds good. So yeah, so we'll do some intros here. And for those that don't know us, probably all of you know Dave. But and then we'll talk some definitions and some myths about generalists, specialists, imposter syndrome, pros and cons of those, and then the bulk of the time today we're going to go through some tabletop scenarios and kind of dissect them a little bit on how a generalist and a specialist might approach those or might deal with some imposter syndrome triggers. So, and then finally, we'll just end it with some tips and takeaways that I hope are really valuable to someone out there. So with that,
I will introduce Mr. Jordan Darling. You can,
because we don't want to talk about ourselves, so we force the other person to say.
yeah, we didn't want to, exactly. We didn't want to talk about ourselves. So we figured the solution was we would talk about each other, giving me the opportunity to introduce Jordan. I first met Jordan through the CVC, so community, probably before I had the opportunity to take the current role that I have within the academy. Became friends immediately. The dude's a great guy, great person. You're going to hear it all the way through that whether I'm not going to measure the level of professionalism as he throws out hand signals there, but I will tell you that he's going to talk to you like you guys have been friends for a long time, and be unfiltered, open, honest, and respectful. But Jordan he has been Vice President and Information Security Officer of Top Dog PC Services for the last 7 years. He started HITECH Computer Solutions way back in 2003, which ended up becoming HITECH Secure around 2016. He is an adjunct faculty at UNWSP teaching digital forensics. And I'm going to ask you to elaborate on the acronym of UNWSP.
That's the University of Northwestern St. Paul here in Roseville, Minnesota.
Okay, so without derailing, but were you guys impacted by the ransomware that's impacting St. Paul right now?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Like the school, I don't know, but I haven't been doing anything for them this summer, so I don't know.
Yeah. No, the whole city.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Has been ravaged.
Yeah.
Okay, so credential wise, Mr. Jordan is Microsoft certified professional, small business specialist, Microsoft specialist, certified that is okay, all those words come out to say he is a CISSP. He is also a certified CMMC professional and a certified virtual chief information security officer which is the program that we have the opportunity to bring to market through the Academy. He has been married 15 years, father of 4 since 2013. And something that you may not know about Jordon is that he has over 25,000 followers on TikTok. I don't know.
I just lost the whole room.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or not. You can feel free to, that's not one of the survey questions, but you can give that a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat.
Don't even worry about it. I saved my best stuff for LinkedIn, so you're not missing anything.
Okay. and that's cool. All right. We have some TikTok loyalists.
Yeah. I laugh though because it's just uncomfortable, having that read. I intentionally made it more uncomfortable by sharing things in there, kind of for the sake of this topic that we're talking about.
Well,
but also,
I was just going to say at some point, if you want, drop in your I don't know, your tag or what. I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know what you TikTok.
I'm at Jordon Darling everywhere, so which I probably shouldn't be. That's another cyber mistake. Why am I even here? I should be masking it. Yeah. But hey, we're also here with Dave. If you guys don't know Dave, Dave Tuckman, he's a wonderful guy. He makes me smile all the time, and he's had 30 plus years of experience in executive level engineering, operations, sales, business development, client relations within IT and cybersecurity industry. He's like, that's credentials, right? That's experience right there, real world experience, and it's awesome to have him in the community. He's been married for 26-ish years.
I know the day, but I keep forgetting the year.
Your wife's not watching this, is she?
She tuned out years ago.
Father of 1 human, 2 cats, and 1 dog. He's built and sold 2 businesses. He was a owner and founder of Golden State Web Solutions, Inc., GSWS for short, for 25 years, and was original partner at bassbooks.com, 1998 to 2001, sole owner from 2001 to 2013. And he's got credentials up the wazoo, certifications. He's in the community everywhere. You guys see, I mean, it's just all over the place. So you can see the signs behind him. I mean, like, if this guy has imposter syndrome, it's kind of like, why, man? You got everything. You got everything.
We're gonna explain why.
But it's something you might not know about Dave. I didn't know until he shared this little treat, is that he's a certified minister. He registered through the Universal Life Church out of Billings, Montana. And he can legally marry someone, but he cannot assist in a divorce.
Yeah, divorces get too complicated, and
is that a rule with like the certain like certification that you got for that like you passed enough to be a minister of marriage but not divorce, or is this like a self-choice?
No, it's an implemented choice. It's an implemented choice, and I went for the lower tier of it's less complicated to help people get married than
you probably get paid more for divorces though, right?
I don't know. Fortunately, I don't have much experience in that domain.
Good.
Yeah. And Greg, yes, another basis. We have more to talk about.
All right, moving on. You said don't spend too much on introductions. Apparently that's something people complain about. So let's move on. That's all you guys get to hear about us. And you heard about Andy. Welcome, Andy. So let's dive in. We're going to start with a grounding statement. Okay. The grounding statement of this presentation is: imposter syndrome isn't a signal of incompetence. It's often a side effect of growth and caring about the quality of your work. Let me say that again for the folks in the back. Imposter syndrome is not a signal of incompetence. It's often a side effect of growth and caring about the quality of your work. Can I hear a amen from the minister?
Amen.
We could probably stop the presentation now. Some of you guys maybe just needed to kind of hear that for a second. But that's the grounding statement for our presentation, is to kind of understand what imposter syndrome is and isn't, and how to deal with it. So now let's get into defining these things, generalist and specialist. And I'll start. Dave, I'll let you go with the specialist one, but let's talk about a cybersecurity generalist. And there's a part of me that doesn't like that, we put this together and said cybersecurity generalist, because I think being a generalist, actually, one of the things about it is probably that your skills flow outside of the realm of cybersecurity. You have maybe some business experience or other things, accounting, all this stuff that can factor into your greater value. But we kind of called it cybersecurity generalist, and that's a professional. We're defining that as a professional with broad knowledge across multiple domains of security, such as GRC, incident response, network defense, cloud security, blah, 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 without specializing deeply in just one area. So you know a lot of different domains across different domains, but you didn't specialize deeply in just one. The pros of being a generalist, there's probably a lot, but the idea is that they're versatile. They're strategic bridge builders. I like that term, bridge builders. They're great in small organizations, startups. They're fast learners. They have a broad, flexible understanding of things, and they're often cross-functional, and they are connectors across silos, which is much needed, I think, in a lot of businesses and just in the world today. The cons are that they are prone to feeling not enough. They lack visible mastery. They are undervalued sometimes in technical organizations. It's like they know just enough to be dangerous, but maybe not enough to feel confident in some areas, which triggers then some imposter syndrome. So some of the triggers are feeling like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Have you ever felt that way if you're a generalist? Maybe being in a room with deep specialists and not speaking up. I've been there many times. Feeling like I might have something to contribute, but God, the people in this room are much smarter than me, and they specialize in it. So who am I to even give my opinion? And job postings that list every tool under the sun. We actually at the CVCSO local chapter meeting yesterday, we analyzed a couple LinkedIn job postings just to kind of criticize them a bit and kind of see the laundry list of things that they're asking for, the unicorns that they're looking for, and just how it feels sometimes if you're looking for a job, to be like, oh geez, they want an expert at all that. That's not me. I know a little bit of some of that, but so that's the generalist. And real quick before we go to the next slide, like that, I consider myself a generalist. I think that's true for me. And I remember an employee of mine at HITECH Computer Solutions who was kind of talking to me about wanting to specialize, and I gave him advice that I was like, I think it's better to be a generalist. I said it seemed more valuable. HITECH Computer Solutions was a managed service provider, and I was just thinking about what for small businesses, and so I was thinking about what our clients needed, and I was like, man, my clients, they kind of need someone that can do a lot of stuff, and they might not be able to afford multiple specialists, but they can afford one generalist that can do things and try things and learn things and be flexible. But of course, in those situations, I always needed a specialist at some point. You can only do so much and try so many things, where at some point you got to admit, like, I'm not the expert at this. I should not be doing this. I need someone who knows their stuff to do this. And I've made that mistake in my career many times too, of just saying, all right, well, I'll make this change to group policy, and I think I know how to do it, and then you know, ruin everything. Um, so that's generalist. Any thoughts, guys?
It just, I definitely consider myself a generalist. And it came from just probably how long I've been in the game, that there was just enough stuff you needed to know. But at the same time, I always did find that if anytime I tried to be a specialist, I found myself more comfortable being a generalist. I was more realizing what I was missing than uh, um, wanting to be a specialist in something. Somebody had a hand up, and I didn't see who it was, but if you are there and you have the hand up, go ahead and bring it back up, and we can uh, hear from you. Okay, so at the other end of the spectrum, we have the specialist. And Jordon and I, as we put this together, kind of defined it as a professional with deep expertise and advanced technical skill in a focused area of security, such as pen testing, malware reverse engineering, cloud security, identity and access management, or incident response. Someone who is deep focused and often a go-to expert in one particular area. Pros of a specialist is that they do have deeper knowledge, which can also equate to more credibility, well-defined career track, because you can say, this is what I want to do, and you can know exactly where you're going, which can be different than from being a generalist. Some of the cons are may struggle with context switching, more isolated work environment, communication challenges, and risk of burnout. Very much easier to take them when you take them out of their area of specialty. That's where imposter syndrome can kick in. Triggers, feeling irrelevant if their one specialty is no longer hot, being asked to weigh in outside of their expertise, or transitioning into management or broader roles. And we run into that a lot in the CVCISO program, because it really does help somebody start to understand how we can talk about technical things, but how do we translate them into the language of business and what the risk to the business is.
Yeah, I think of like the dynamic between the two. A specialist, you know, I always think of them as they probably know the right way. You give them the problem in their area, or ask them to troubleshoot this, they'll figure it out because they know what's right, what to do, and how it's supposed to be. Versus a generalist who might know a way to do it, maybe it's the right way, but they also don't necessarily know or have the confidence, and might be thinking, well, there could be a better way. So even if they have the right answer, they don't feel confident enough, and maybe think there's maybe a better way or someone who knows more.
Sure. There's a real good comment in there. Well, a couple of several really good comments. Greg had said that early onset starts the day you learn. There will always be more to learn. And Henrik had shared that specialists generally can earn much more.
Sure.
But generalists are generally better overall in cybersecurity, because we tend to look outside of our lanes, and this is particularly good for strategy and risk assessments.
Yeah, we had some good conversation at the chapter meeting yesterday too about this, where, you know, there is kind of a spectrum here. You know, we're kind of going on two sides of this, and we're thinking of specialists as like you're in this niche, like you know SQL database, and that's all you do, and that's, you know, all day long every day, and you're the best at it. and you focus on it. Where there is, I mean, there are generalists that maybe can consider themselves a subject matter expert at something. You know, there is something that they know a lot about, and whether you consider them a specialist at that point, I don't know. But we called out that there is another kind of category of subject matter expert that maybe fits in the middle somewhere. And the
Yeah.
myth, the myth about this, or here's an idea of a myth at least for conversation, is that one is better than the other. Is one better than the other?
No, no, I personally, I don't think one's better than another. And I think that that each one needs the other. And
Yeah,
as a community at large, we need all of us. We're
absolutely.
aligned on that. Yeah.
Yeah, the reality is that that security is an ecosystem and both are essential. You need both. Like I said, when when being a generalist, I mean, you'll hit places where you just need a specialist. I mean, if you're doing the right thing, you know, like you might be able to figure something out, but maybe it's not wise for your client that you're tinkering around with something. Maybe you should bring in a specialist for it. Um, and
Yeah.
maybe,
And it can be also not necessarily something technical.
mhm.
It's just a different perspective that can really help when you're trying to navigate through whatever it is.
So let's talk about imposter syndrome. Let's just define it real quick and then we'll get into the scenarios. Imposter syndrome. Our definition of that is the internal experience of believing that you're not as competent as others perceive you to be, despite your skills and your experience and accomplishments. So, despite all that you've been through, despite uh, the awards you've won, or the certifications you've got, or the time that you spent working on yourself with something, um, you still think you're not as competent as people might think you are. Imposter syndrome does not mean low self-esteem. Uh, it's more of an internalized fear that you're going to be exposed as a fraud. Like as soon as they realize you don't know this much about that one thing, they're going to discredit you forever and feel like you were just faking everything. Um, it's it's very common in high performers, especially those who've taken a non-linear path, like a generalist, where maybe you've been all over the place. You've gotten a variety of experiences, and training and things. Uh, and you know, some of the triggers for imposter syndrome, some of the things that kind of I think you might bring up imposter syndrome in your life in general is just comparing yourself to others, and especially online. We all know that scenario these days with social media and everyone putting their best self on social media. And if you start comparing yourself to others, you can start triggering imposter syndrome or being the first at something. So you're the first one in your family to go after something, and you might start, feeling like you're out of your comfort zone, and imposter syndrome starts triggering. Or at work, you're launching a new offering, and this is new territory. You're kind of a pioneer. Um, or transitional moments, I think, is a good thing to be aware of. And when you're looking for a new job or starting a new job in a new area, a new field, changing careers, uh, getting a promotion. So now you're not the tech guy anymore. Now you're a manager, and it's a new set of skill sets you gotta develop. Or a speaking gig like this. Like I went through for this presentation. And I think too that I wanted to bring up that we call it a syndrome, but its creators actually never meant it that way. It was originally called imposter phenomenon, because of how common it is. It was identified, and it was originally attributed to women. That it was when it first came out. This imposter phenomenon was more like this is what women go through, but it's been proven that uh, it's definitely not gender specific. We all deal with it, and it's very, very common. Um, so it's a phenomenon, not a flaw. You're not broken. you're in good company. So, because it's not like a syndrome, it makes you feel like you need medication for it. You know, you need treatment.
Right. Or there's a fix.
And Joe, one of the CVC SOs at our local chapter yesterday, she might be watching, I'm not sure, but she was telling a story and she referred to it as an episode. She was having an episode of imposter syndrome, which I think is probably more accurate, like something that just kind of comes up and that really you don't deal with it with like some sort of psychological medication or anything. You deal with it with tools in that moment. Like it's cropping up because of something, it's getting triggered by something, and you just need tools to talk yourself down from it. And we'll have some ideas on that as we continue here.
Yeah, and the only other thing I just kind of want to piggyback on what you're saying is that for the industry that we're in, imposter syndrome is kind of around every corner. But it isn't limited to our work. This schooling, things in a relationship. This is just a human response to something. We just get thrown so much at us in our industry that I think that's what's helped make it be more of a common topic or something that falls within the scope of what gets talked about.
Agreed. And I think you know, it comes and goes with me. You know, I have good days and bad. There might be a day where I'm feeling very confident and I'm doing things I've never done and I'm approaching them with confidence and courage. And then the next day, you know, or all it takes is maybe someone to kind of question you, or you make a mistake and then all of a sudden it's like, oh geez, I wasn't supposed to be here. Don't deserve this. Why am I here? Why do they trust me with anything? You know.
Yeah, and there are some great thoughts and comments in the chat. Not going to go through every one of them, just so we can kind of keep things going. But thank you very much for all the thoughts being shared, and encourage everybody to take a look at those and continue. I think we can go into the first scenario, but I am going to see if I can get the poll thing to work. And let's see what happens. Yeah. Oh, sweet. I'm about to hit launch. Okay, so real quick, everybody. If you're seeing that, yeah, you know, please share with us where you think you land. We should use the word phenomenon more than syndrome, because I was just about to see, where do you feel that you land on the spectrum for this? And I realize I'm just taking it the wrong direction. But
I was expecting this result for the generalist specialist thing. I definitely feel like there's a lot more people that call themselves generalists. And I was thinking yesterday that there might be a little bit of imposter phenomenon in that too. Like I can't call myself a specialist. I'm not an expert. You know, I'm not generalist. You know, I know a little bit about everything, but maybe there is something that you're not giving yourself credit for. You're the smartest one in the room right now.
Yeah, well, and I was going to share my imposter phenomenon simply over the ability to deliver on the polls.
Yeah, you have gotten better.
Yeah. So what? Okay, so here, let me end that, and then if you go ahead and go to the next slide there. Oh,
yes.
Okay, there's the results to show everybody that it was very heavily weighed towards people, towards us identifying ourselves as generalists. But yeah, if you can go just to the next slide, what we did in this slide deck here is we created 4 scenarios. I don't think we're going to have time to go through all 4. And that was partially by design, where, like I said, we'll make the slide deck available. So you can take these and kind of go through them if it's helpful to go through them individually, or if you want to go through them with your team, other people. There's been times where this was actually a helpful exercise on an HR side, things like that as well. So we're going to go through as many of these as we can, but there are 4 altogether, and we intended to try and give more than we would have time for. So
Excellent. Ransomware. Scenario 1, ransomware attack, core systems. What do you do? So a ransomware attack encrypts critical business systems, including customer databases and internal communication tools. A ransom note demands payment in cryptocurrency within 48 hours. Probably many of us are well aware of this type of a scenario. So the generalist response to this scenario might be that the responder initiates basic containment steps. They disconnect systems, but they don't have quite the deep knowledge of ransomware behavior or decryption options. They rely heavily on external vendors and struggle to prioritize recovery steps. And that's the generalist. They're kind of struggling through trying to do the best they can across all these different things, but not quite the expert at some of them. You want to do the specialist, Dave?
Sure. And I'm actually just scrolling up because somebody had made a comment earlier that just tied right to this. Mary Jo had said, a generalist is smart enough to know when you require a specialist. And I think that's kind of where we're going here. But yeah, go ahead and bring it up, man.
All right.
Please.
Specialist response to this.
So now we got somebody that is a specialist within this particular scenario. So they could easily be, if you took them out of this scenario, they could easily be flopping around like a fish out of water. But an incident response specialist will quickly identify the ransomware, isolate affected systems, check for backups, coordinate with, and we didn't put it in here, but senior management, legal and law enforcement, so the organization can respond appropriately, not only to the technical impact that something like this is going to happen, but who's going to talk to the media, things like that. But a specialist will be experienced in this and with enough to have an ability to lead a structured recovery.
Yeah, so it sounds like the specialist hit it out of the park. Let's talk about some imposter syndrome triggers here. So for the generalist, they may feel a little bit inadequate now. They're dealing with this, but they felt like, oh man, I don't have the deep technical knowledge, especially when others are expecting them to have all the answers. People are still asking them to have the answers, and they might not know all the answers, and maybe they feel like it's taking too long to get results, and now they're starting to feel out of place. However, the specialist, on the other hand, although it seems like they hit it out of the park, if you pull back a little bit, maybe there's a scenario where they didn't. Perhaps they excel. They're a specialist at malware containment, but the broader business impact when they're talking to legal and PR or executive communications, maybe that falls a little outside of their wheelhouse. So they can nail the response on the technical side, but then they're asked to go talk to the executives, and they start feeling a little inadequate, and felt like they couldn't really contribute to the whole needs of the business.
Yeah, and I think I remember when we were putting this together, and one of the first thoughts I had that might trigger imposter phenomenon to a generalist is, hey, this is what happened. This is what's going on. Leadership is going to be saying, okay, what's next? Tell me more. What's next? When are we going to be on the other side of this? And those are going to be a lot of questions that the generalist simply wouldn't have the answer to.
Yep. So the recommendations for the generalist, the recommendations would be that you conduct regular ransomware tabletop drills. We all understand that we hear tabletop drills all the time, but maybe you can fight away your imposter syndrome by practicing and having tabletop drills, so you know the routine, you know what to do, or maintain an updated incident response playbooks. You can train the generalists on the protocols and escalation paths. So they might not be an expert at it, but at least they know the routine. They know what to do, and you had it figured out ahead of time. And they can build relationships with external IR firms in advance. So you have specialists waiting to help you. I think generalists, at least in my career, I've leaned heavily on vendors. I can do all this stuff, and when it gets a certain point, I got to bring in the people that know the thing.
Yeah. And just real quick, as the comments are popping in, I saw, please keep reading them, but on Joe's, where you said, what if they specialize in ransomware cases? Not totally following you, but if they did, then they would be a specialist.
Yeah.
But if you took that ransomware specialist and slap him in one of these other scenarios we're about to go over, yeah, they're going to total, again, fish out of water.
Yeah. And a couple tips on the specialist side, if they're having imposter syndrome here, is maybe to have the same type of thing, having tabletops, but in like a mixed audience where executives are there and they're learning how to talk cross-functionally between teams, and just practice for that, and normalizing collaborating with leadership.
Amen.
Ready for another one?
Yeah.
Moving on.
I am, sure.
All right, you read this one.
Scenario 2, insider threat, data exfiltration. An employee is suspected of downloading large volumes of sensitive data before resigning. Nice. The activity was flagged by a data loss prevention system, which is cool that there was a DLP system in place. But yeah, for that is the scenario. A specialist will know, to review logs and correlate what they see in those against patterns, and can get to the details and specifics of what has happened, and be able to work with HR and legal to secure the employee's access and understand the scope of what has happened, and be in a more solid position, even if it were to lead to the potential of a forensic investigation.
Yeah, and the generalists, they might not know how to interpret DLP logs. That might be a little outside of their skill level, or correlate them to user behaviors. And so that might delay some things. They delay action, and they are seeking help, and maybe every second counts. So they're feeling the pressure of trying to be everything, or trying to have a deeper knowledge of something they just don't have, and that can risk some further data loss. So imposter syndrome triggered the generalist. They may feel like they must handle everything alone, and they hesitate to ask for help, fearing it shows weakness. Like I commented before, I think having those people that you'll call in your back pocket is important, and not to not fear like your weakness for actually having to ask for some help on those specific things. The specialists, though, they might feel like they're underqualified again, it might be a cross-functional thing. You know, they don't know how to talk to, or they're not comfortable talking to HR in a HR adjacent context, or, you know, or maybe they're feeling like they like they've told people about the risks and the warning signs were ignored, and so they're feeling like no one listens to me. You know, I'm a specialist, but no one. I warned people that this was going to happen. I warned people that there was a gap, and no one listened to me. So you can maybe feel some imposter syndrome creep up in that scenario.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of getting back to imposter phenomenon kicking in when someone's taken out of their comfort zone and being challenged or being put in a position outside of their normal swim lanes. Um, and I think whether it's a generalist or a specialist, ultimately in these types of scenarios, in principle, we're trying to avoid surprises as best as possible. And that's why being a, like to Jordan's points, making sure we have an incident response plan and doing some tabletops to test it and see, and through all of that, it helps make sure everybody's more on the same page. And as they're on the same page, the maturity of the whole capability to address it improves, which helps minimize surprises.
Absolutely, yeah. Some other recommendations for generalists might be that you incorporate some insider threat training, some detection tools, create some cross-functional response teams. So if they were the only one responding, you know, uh, and they felt like they had to do everything, you know, maybe it's something to work your way out of, is having your response team include other people that would maybe have more insight into other things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, imagine, if we're all in the same company and we've got different roles and maybe we're all generalists to some degree, but we do specialize in what we normally do. But then let's say it's something that I specialize in and I'm on vacation. By doing those tabletops, having those conversations, those lessons learned is going to help you more against those surprises, even if you aren't a specialist inside of that particular domain. Hey, we do have a hand up. And Andy, I am going to hit the allow to talk and we're going to see how it works, man. Yeah. So Jordan, get ready with the drum roll and go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
can. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, rocking.
Yeah, you guys talking about this. So actually, being a general specialist, so I think it's not about like confidence. It is, I think the most important that being a cybersecurity that when we see something that is so important, so our job is to get to know the senior management, right? So when it hits something that's so important, we don't confront the customer. We call a senior manager, right? The most higher, and then basically we talk to them, and we need the support because either way, you're going to reach out to the customer, even though you are right. You gonna get hit because um, you know, they go by how it gonna affect them, right? So, for example, they have some real important transaction. Now you call the interrupt, they're not gonna comply. So what you need to do is need to reach out to the senior, and we go that route. And then because the senior management will see at the end, he's the one going to get hurt the most, and he will try to back us up and resolve the problem. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, bringing in, knowing who to bring in when is critical.
So we need to party with the senior management, and then especially the CFO, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they gonna back us up.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent point and leads into you're describing how we know how to respond were something to happen.
Right.
And you're absolutely right. And that's the chain of command and all of this. And I think whether you are a specialist or a generalist, if the organization doesn't have that level of maturity, it's going to rip through all levels in that.
Yeah. So especially a lot of small cap company, they don't have that option. The senior management don't want to get involved, and the only option we have is to work on a mitigation side, and basically that's it.
Sure. No, dude. Appreciate you sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think one of the points that was brought up yesterday when I was discussing it with our chapter meeting too is that fits into that comment, Andy, is the being okay with asking for help too. Because the very thing that you're talking about, even maybe you have that all spelled out. Hey, when in this scenario, you got to bring in the executives; they'll take care of that, and you have all your roles kind of defined. And then there's some scenarios where, maybe the specialist or the generalist would both deal with this, where they feel like they're supposed to be the one to do everything. And they feel like, oh, if I go ask the executives to step in, then they're going to, see that I'm weak in this area, or they're going to, think that I was supposed to take care of it, or, whatever it is. That's another place where imposter phenomenon might get triggered. And not everyone deals with that at any given time, but we're talking about the kind of triggers, things to look for, where it's like, oh, right now I'm having a tough time asking for help because I'm thinking that it makes me look weaker. It makes me look like I'm a fraud and I don't know what I'm doing, when really, hopefully you have the whole playbook spelt out and you're just following the playbook. It's already been predetermined what you're supposed to do and who you bring in.
Yeah, we are managing those perceptions.
Yeah, great stuff.
Cool.
Well,
before we go to the next one, which will be cloud configure, you can go to that. I want to ride that wave of momentum that the poll questions work. Where did those go?
Bring on the poll.
No, I can't find it.
Do we have enough time to do another one anyways, or should we get to the wrap up slide?
Well, here, let's do, you know what? Yeah, let me bring up, no, I want to close that out.
We spent too much time on introductions, Dave. That's my fault. I got carried away.
No, not at all. All right, here. Okay, I'm going to launch the next one. And so how often have you experienced imposter syndrome? Yeah, I did an audible with that one, Jordan. With the last option of this question is giving me imposter syndrome.
Yeah, answers are what I would expect. It.
Yeah.
Imposter phenomenon.
Yeah, and never is at zero. Interesting. Cool. See, now I'm so glad we did the polls and that they worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just remember that next time when you hesitate and you're feeling a little like an imposter for the next polls, that you have it under your belt, that you've made them work.
Okay. Tell you what, let's at least just touch on what the topics of the other two are, without going into detail. And then we can and then we'll fast forward to the kind of tips and suggestions that we have for closing. How's that?
Sounds good.
Cool.
All right, so we got the cloud misconfiguration scenario, where a misconfigured cloud storage bucket exposes sensitive customer data to the public internet. That's great. The issue is discovered by a third party and reported publicly. Oh, dear God.
Yeah. So just fast forward to the next one. And like I said, in a day, we'll have a day or two, we'll have this up available for download, and you've got full access to it.
Scenario 4 is phishing campaign compromise. Multiple employees report suspicious emails. One user clicks a link and enters credentials, oh my, leading to unauthorized access to internal systems.
Andy, we're going to have to equip you with like doom sounds for a future podcast.
I'll be all over
All
that, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, the price of admission is for this last slide, everyone. So hopefully you stuck around. I know you probably got to get back to work.
Yeah.
But final tips and takeaways. So
Sorry, that's the
so final tips and takeaways. Maybe there's something for you to take away today here. So how do you cope when you're dealing with an episode of imposter phenomenon? One tip is to name it, identify it, like understand that this is imposter phenomenon, and it's not a signal that you don't belong. I heard in a podcast not that long ago that like the very fact that you're in the room means you belong. Remember that. Like you don't feel like you should be sitting around this table. I've felt that so many times. I don't feel like I belong here with you guys, but the fact that I am here means I belong here. So think about that. Reframe it. I don't know this yet versus I shouldn't be here. A lot of times imposter phenomenon comes at the edge of learning something new, the edge of doing something new. And so reframe it and do that. Document your wins. This might be uncomfortable for people, but create a personal brag book or a folder of thank yous. You know, someone thank you for doing something, and just remember, like if that's hard for you to do, that confidence is not arrogance. You don't have to. I think in my life I've struggled with the idea of being too prideful and trying to practice humility. And in some ways, maybe there's some negative impact from trying too hard at that, where you almost mix up real good confidence, and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Simon's comment on that, where one of the worst triggers is having no humility.
Mm. Yeah.
That's a big pitfall.
And connect. You're not alone. This is a phenomenon. Everyone, as you saw in the poll, deals with it in some way, shape, or form throughout their careers. You're not alone. Find your people. Check in with people. Find a local chapter to join. And going further into like the specifics of generalists and specialists, like practice describing your value in terms of impact, not just tools or certs. So maybe your brag book isn't, well, I have a CISSP, maybe that's not good enough. Maybe just remember scenarios and think about the impact that you made in a certain scenario and keep a record of that. Collect the stories of those situations where your range, your versatility, your bridge building ability made the difference in that scenario. For specialists, recognize that the value of saying I don't know and that's okay. You have a special niche. You're awesome at it, and don't be afraid to collaborate across the boundaries and to admit when you need to bring someone else in, and push yourself. Imposter syndrome, like I said, it shows up at the edge of doing something new, doing something you haven't done before, and don't let it stop you from doing that thing. Because once you do that thing, now you've experienced that thing, and now you have that under your belt. So a couple closing things for this: generalist or specialist, no matter what you are, you bring value that others don't. You have value that you bring to the table, and you're there, so bring it. Don't keep it. This little light of mine, let it shine. uh, the imposter phenomenon shows up right at the edge of your growth, so don't let it stop you from growing. Just recognize it, call it what it is, and then get that growth. Get it. And it's okay to feel it. It's not okay to let it stop you. Be honest. Don't overcompensate to all of a sudden being overconfident without competence. Know where your weaknesses lie. Bring other people in. Ask for help. It's okay to have gaps. Just be transparent about it. Let people know, hey, I've never done this, but I'm willing to try. I'm a fast learner, and I'll bring people in when I need to bring people in. And that's my last point of the presentation.
No, dude, that's awesome. And I appreciate you including that. I did drop our contact info in the chat if anybody wants to shoot us an email or connect with us on LinkedIn. Would love to. I do want to thank everybody for hanging out with us and helping make this be as lively and engaged as it has been. And this is going to sound really cheesy, and I have no apologies for it. I didn't even think about the phenomenon versus syndrome, but you can't have phenomenal without having phenomenon. So
Phenomena.
yeah. So with that, I'll say I guess we'll say the end. And
yeah, thanks.
Thank
thanks
you
for sticking around.
all, hope
it was valuable. Love you all.
Yeah. No, thank you everyone. Appreciate you being here. Connect with us, and Jordon, great job not only thinking about the topic and having the opportunity to work with you on it, but how it's all come together.
Yeah, thank you for helping me.
So absolutely, dude. So we will now have to go find a new topic for you to say I have.
I'm going on tour with this topic, man.
Yeah. Take this.
I've exhausted it.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap and let you all get back on with your day. But thank you again. Oh no, gonna throw in Joe's line there. Can't be extraordinary without being extraordinary. Thank you, everyone.
Beautiful.
Cool. Chat with you soon. Thanks.